everyone. Thank you for joining us again for Coffee and Astrology. My name's Megan. I'm with the Academy of Logic and Light, and I've got our teachers Julie and Elle here with us today. We're talking all about the sign Gemini, and if you can go to astro.com, you will be able to pull up your girth part, your birth chart, and see where the sign Gemini is in your chart. Also, there's lots of other resources that you can find that with. And you're welcome to ask us any questions you have, and we'd love to walk you through anything. So I'll just introduce the Academy real fast. So we are a community education platform that provides a safe space for people to practice their spirituality without being indoctrinated. And so our goal is just to create a community that teachers can come into and help us teach, learn, and really just grow as a community. So we have monthly meetups and here in Salt Lake. And we also are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all under the same name, Academy of Logic and Light. We also have a website at academyoflogicandlight.org. And we also have a Patreon. So if you like what we're doing and you like what you see and you want even more magical content, you can join over on our Patreon. We have lots of great perks like energetic work. We have tarot readings, as well as astrology, forecasts, and members-only live streams. So we hope that you'll join us over there and help support us. We also are looking for teachers. So if you're interested in teaching, please reach out to us on social media, or you can send us an email to academyoflogicandlight@gmail.com. We're really excited to be kind of ramping up some more classes, and if there's any teachers out there who are interested in getting involved, let us know, and we'd love to have you. So, well, without any more of me, I'll go ahead and we're going to play a quick intro, and then I'll turn the time over to our amazing teachers. Maybe.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Getting started with this day. A little bit of caffeine in me, a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah. How are you?
I actually have been having so much coffee since 5:30 this morning that I'm like, maybe I'll take a little break so I'm not like and like talking for like
crashing
Gemini
at noon.
speed. Yeah.
Gemini speed.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to slow it down a little bit. Maybe have a glass of water and.
Ooh, how responsible!
Yeah, I know. Look at me. Yeah, it'll be in a coffee mug. You'll never know. All right. So we're Gemini today. One of my favorite signs of the zodiac. They are so fun, and they're just like the free spirits that are so go with the flow. And I appreciate a go with the flow kind of person because I'm so go with the flow. Like, we have this plan, but we might end up in another country. I love that feeling. I love it. I think it's fun and spontaneous, and I'm always grateful for my Gemini friends because I never know what's going to happen throughout the night. And
never be bored.
Never, ever. So that's kind of the overall generalization of Gemini. So if you have it in your sun or your moon or in certain houses, the third house is what Gemini governs over. So if you see a lot of things in your chart that you're like, oh, okay, well, my Gemini's here or it's in this house. So just kind of listen and we will go through all the houses and all the planets and what Gemini kind of does in each one. But just to over generalize on Geminis, they are flexible. They're mutable signs. So they go with the flow. They're in the middle of the season. They can adapt. They can do any kind of shape shifting in any kind of situation if they need to, because they're just those type of people. They can be whatever. They're witty. They're so smart. If you ever find yourself in a fight with a Gemini woman, she's probably gonna hurt your feelings. She's got a sharp tongue. They're quick wit. They're just fast.
Very.
They're ruled by Mercury. So communication is kind of like their jive, like they are getting information from one place to another is just all things Gemini. So the some of the things that Geminis maybe struggle with is consistency, because they are so go with the flow and they are so free. A very stable routine is just something, honestly, they don't even care about. They're not interested in. It doesn't fulfill them. So they get like a bad consistency rep, which I truthfully don't think they care. But they just don't enjoy the consistency of things. So, and I say that and you're like, oh, I'm a Gemini sun, but you may have a lot of earth in your chart. You may love consistency. But there's probably something in your soul that's like, I like to have my own schedule. I like to work for myself. I don't want a boss. I want to do what I want to do, how I want to do it. And that's just the traits of Gemini. So they're an air sign. Again, they just flow, they mold, they're easygoing. They typically are the life of the party. So yeah, that's really for characteristics of a Gemini what I have. Do you have anything you want to add? I know you got some fun facts over there.
Oh, I got so many fun facts. Okay, so the main one, excuse me. Gemini is lively, energetic, versatile, intellectual, lives primarily in the mind rather than the emotions, and extremely adaptable to new situations, everything that you said. And then the ruling planet is Mercury, ancient messenger of the gods. In astrology, Mercury rules communication and travel, and it emphasizes quick cleverness and nervous temperament. So yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
That nervousness, Gemini nervousness. You can smell it from a mile away sometimes.
Facts. The dominant keyword is I think. Part of the body ruled by Gemini. We'll come back to that in a little while because we have a fun little video for you guys. But it's hands, arms, shoulders, and lungs. And lucky day is Wednesday. Lucky numbers are 5 and 9. Birthstone is agate, a multicolored precious stone that protects from deception, falsehood, and bestows eloquence, especially in declarations of love. Special color is yellow, bright and luminous, the color of novelty. It's just kind of funny the words that they choose for these things. And I'm also like reading out of this book if anyone is following along. Fantastic book. Cities, London, San Francisco, and Versailles, and Melbourne. Countries, United States, Wales, and Belgium. Flowers, lily of the valley and lavender. Trees, any nut-bearing trees. Metal is Mercury, of course. And animals ruled by Gemini are brightly colored birds and butterflies. And then the last part, Gemini people are prone to accidents while traveling, especially by air. They're fickle by nature, so also tend to arouse unexpected anger in others, and depth of which often Geminis are misjudged, which I think we all know someone.
And I honestly feel like they get misjudged because Geminis they symbolize the twins. So there's the good twin and the bad twin. And so I feel like they do a lot of good, but then the bad twin, when it does come out, it's like it does memorable things. Like I have a best friend growing up. She was a Gemini. She was such a good person, but so many people were like, oh God, that one. And I'm like, she does like one wrong thing and she's known for that and not all the good, but it's like that one bad thing that she did was so like traumatizing for people. And I mean, really, she's just here to help them evolve, right? Like make them a little uncomfortable. Like she loved that. So I think that's kind of why a lot of Geminis get a bad rap, because the bad twin just like the good twin does a lot of good, but the bad twin's like, I'm going to go out with a bang and really do something that's going to be like, oh yeah, this person did that.
I think they're like a little bit of energy disruptors too. Like they kind of want to make the waves even though they're in the air.
Yeah. They're like, I'm going to like ruffle these feathers, but like stay out of it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that is, we'll go into the houses and I'll explain which house that Gemini lives in. So what we just kind of went over, Gemini sun, Gemini moons. I'm very quick to be like, oh, you're a Gemini moon. And so I did a little research because I was like, I don't want to have this, like, I feel bad for Gemini moons because Gemini is a thinker and the moon is where you feel. And so I'm always like, any air sign really, I'm like, oh, your poor moon planet is, you know, Gemini or Aquarius. And so typical things with a Gemini moon are nervousness, anxiety. Those are things that can really take over kind of your your mindset. But I never really give constructive ways of like helping with this. Like I always tell Gemini moons like, oh, you're really anxious and you're really, you know, so, you know, nervous, but I never give them like tips on what could help them. So I did some research since we were going over Gemini, and I was like, some things that I feel like would be very helpful for a Gemini moon when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling anxious or this nervousness. Do like a crossword puzzle. Do something that you can focus on, that can stimulate your brain, and that can really help you through that moment, because those are the things, like, it's hard for you to focus, but if you have something particularly that you're focusing on, it will be so beneficial for you. So I did do some reading, some research into the moon, and obviously in different houses it's going to do different things, but overall a Gemini moon can be a really beautiful thing. You're witty, you can talk about your feelings. This could be a very poetic person that writes out their feelings because they're, you know, they don't really feel it, but they can put it into words in a way that probably not a lot of signs could, especially with your moon. So write out your feelings, do a crossword, utilize this placement as a place to evolve and grow and be more than just a nervous, anxious human. Because I know a ton of Gemini moons, and I'm like, I can literally like feel you shaking. Like, but I've never given them like something to evolve through. And so I kind of feel bad. I need to go back and find all the charts that I've done for my Gemini moons and be like, wait, I forgot something. Try this.
That's why it's always an ongoing process with astrology too. It's just we keep learning and we keep
always
adding to things. So it'll come.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe they'll come back to me and be like, oh, I needed that.
Watch this video.
I know some are listening, so that was for you. And I'm sorry I didn't give you better direction before. I too am learning. So, but yeah, Gemini moons, a not a horrible place to have a sign to have in your moon, but definitely some room for growth and involvement. So, and then the next one is your Mercury. Having Gemini in your Mercury is fantastic. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It is in its most natural element. Like, I bet you can just like say things that are like smooth like butter. Like they can just like, they just have a natural ability to communicate and to communicate smoothly. It comes natural. These are like speakers. These are like motivational speakers, for speakers for like companies. These are the people that you want like representing, or like your publicist, someone that's going to represent you, that can say things or spin things in a way that really give you, make you look good. Even if it's a bad situation, they can like turn it in a way, manipulate it in a way that still can benefit you and make you look like you're not an asshole. So that's a really good placement to have. If you have Gemini, a Gemini Mercury, good for you. I might want to hit you up someday to write all my posts for me on Instagram.
Right?
So, yeah.
I'm looking through all my friends' charts. I'm like, who has Gemini in their chart?
I might have some technical difficulties. Just bear with me here, guys.
You're good.
I'm sorry. I was like, this might crash in the middle of us talking. Just disregard, because I have it kind of rigged. But it's fine. You know what? This little light's going to go away. Sorry, guys. I'm going back to the dark side.
Technical difficulties.
I'm back. All right, Gemini Venus. This one, depending on what kind of relationship you want, can be either really good or really bad. So Gemini is a thinker. Venus is how you love. It's the heart. And so you could blend these two really well and make them beautiful, or you could want to kind of control this person and just totally destroy any kind of relationship that you would want with them. A Gemini Venus, they need to be free. They need to feel free. They love to communicate. They love connection. So my husband's a Gemini. He's not a Gemini Venus, but one of the first things when we first started dating is he was like, oh my gosh, I had such a connection with this girl. And I was kind of turned off by it. I was like, I don't love that. Like connection with a girl. Like, you know, my head goes automatically that it's an attraction thing, right? Well, like a few months later, he was like, oh my gosh, this guy and I met this guy. We had such an amazing connection. We were vibing. And I was like, okay, he doesn't associate that with attraction, or he associates it with like this conversation, this person, this vibe. So it was kind of like eye-opening for me, because I was like, okay, so now when I hear him say, oh my gosh, it was such a great connection, he says connection a lot. And I noticed that when he really vibes with someone, he really vibes with them, and they live for that. Wow. They love that. They love to connect. They love to relate. It's more, you'll see a Gemini listening more than talking, because they're so curious. And so when you have Gemini and Venus, this person is very curious, but about a lot of people. And so if you're jealous, or if you have like, you want a certain type of relationship where it's just you and this person, that might be conflicting, because they're probably going to be a social butterfly, and they're probably going to connect and want to be friends with everyone. So if you don't love that, I don't recommend this placement for you, because this person is going to thrive and really grow when they have those connections. Gemini Mars. This is the most fun Mars to have. You're never going to be bored with this person. They're probably, you know, out traveling the world, doing the craziest things, eating the wildest foods. There's the Earth is just such a place for them to explore in this area. So it's like they take action in a very active way, expressive way. They just very much, Gemini and Mars isn't a bad one to have. I'd say it's very proactive, very flexible, but you get things done. It's a get things done placement. So it's just kind of nice to have. So there's kind of the planets that I go over each week with the sign. That way you can kind of generalize a personality. I don't go into the further planets just because that would take way too long. But overall, and the ascendant. I always save that one for last, because the ascendant is like how you come across and how you view the world. So it's a big one. It's a huge one. So Gemini in the ascendant is like such a good placement. You view the world as a playground. You're very childlike. You have this way about you that is charismatic, and you can appreciate like every little thing. You can be like, oh, this butterfly and its colors is so beautiful, and look at how it flies. Like you just have like such a unique way of looking at the world that a lot of people don't. Very childlike. And that is something I feel like is to be grateful for, because a lot of people are like, oh, the world is a dark, heavy place and it sucks. And Gemini ascendants, they don't view it like that. They see it as like, where are all these places that I haven't explored, and how do I get there and explore them? Like they're on a mission to learn and grow through experiences. And yeah, what better way to experience things through travel? So, but that's one of the big things for them. And then how they're perceived is very similar, very, very childlike. Also, with feminine and masculine energy, I do feel like there's a big difference between Gemini feminine and Gemini masculine. The masculine tend to be more quiet and reserved, and the women, feminine, I'm trying to really work on that, guys. Feminine energy is more talkative and more, I would say, assertive. They kind of have like more of a little sting to them. So the feminine energy and masculine energy on both of these are a little different, and from my experience. So that is all I have for the planets. Now I'm going to go through the houses and just explain how a Gemini sun, and if it's in your moon or Mercury, you can kind of relate to these things and put it together, but just know that who you are and then how you feel, how you speak, how you are in love are different. So it's going to have a little bit of a different twist to it. Gemini in the first house. If your sun is in the first house, I would say this person is very expressive. They are great at communicating who they are, how they see the world, what offends them, what doesn't. They are going to be one of these people that can put themselves out there and really sell themselves. I don't know. What's a career that you like have to sell yourself, that you're like,
Modeling,
not someone else, but
actor.
Yes, that would be a good one. Yeah. So you have to explain why you're so great and why you're so good. And first house is about self, and Gemini is all about communication. So they're really good at communicating why they're so good and why they're so, why they should be for the job or whatever, the modeling job or whatever the case may be. So these people are very charming. They can be very fearless. You got that Aries energy there with Gemini together. That combination can be dangerously spontaneous and dangerously fearless. So just please make sure you have health insurance. That's all I can say. That's all I got for that. Second house Geminis. This one's a beautiful placement. My husband is a second house Gemini, and I'm so grateful because like I handle the finances, but he's the one with a plan. And he's the one that's like putting back, and he's the one that's saving, which is not very Gemini like. But his sun is in the house of Taurus that is like, we need to have, savings. We need to have this. And so it's kind of like, oh, well, I'm really grateful that I have this because I am not that way. And so it's really cool. It's really cool to see a Gemini be very responsible and be, a provider because they like to be free. And don't get me wrong, he loves his freedom and he loves to be free, but he's also a really good provider. And I do think this second house placement is what saves him. Great credit, has always taken care of his stuff. And I'm just like, wow, but that second house Gemini placement, I really feel like benefited him. So they're very persistent. Sorry, my little baby's like having a meltdown back here. She's fine. She's with her auntie. So the Gemini in the second house, they can be adaptive. They're very persistent, which is kind of alters that Gemini trait a little bit because consistency is something they really lack. So this gives them a little more consistency. And one of the things that they have to learn for Gemini in the second house is you don't have to work for people. Taurus kind of has a mentality 9 to 5 is the way you survive. Gemini likes to do things with their hands. They like to be free. So when I see a air sign in an earth house, it's a good opportunity for that air sign to learn, like, you don't have to do things the way that you feel or you've been told have to be done. So that is Gemini in the second house. Gemini in the third house is so fun. I cannot express how amazing this person can probably communicate. It goes in with like the Mercury. Like if you had Gemini Mercury in the third house with your sun, I want to meet you and I want to have a conversation with you because I feel like they are just so, I don't know, like they require mental stimulation. So like if you're not into like off the top random conversations that are also so deep that you're like, whoa, what did we just talk about? You're probably not this person, but these people, they like to dig deep. They like to understand things. They want knowledge. They want to communicate. They want to learn so they can teach. They listen and they love to hear people talk because they absorb it. These are the people that like can spit off facts. Like they're like, oh, 1972 World Series, whatever his name did, whatever they do. And they have like all the facts, all the things. So this is a great position for your son to be in because it really amplifies your ability to communicate and really gives you like this witty conversationalist kind of personality. Oh, hey, kitty. Do you have anything to add for those first 3 houses?
The houses, no. It's all you on the houses.
Like anything you have. Gemini in the 4th house. This one's a little different. I have experienced and studied 2 different types with this. So I have a lot of charts that I've done with Gemini in the 4th house where everywhere is their home. They can go to some other country, sleep on a cot, and it feels like home to them. Everything, the earth is home. They can be anywhere at any time and feel at ease. And I've also on the flip side, and I guess maybe the degrees would be what would change this a little bit, and there are other placements. So if you have a lot of earth and water in your chart, this could be more your style. If you had a lot of air and fire in your chart, what I just explained, you're like, oh, I can be anywhere and anywhere's home. But I do find that the other kind of elements that influence Gemini in the 4th house, it makes them kind of homebodies, and it makes them really love and appreciate their family to where they're like the family clown. They make jokes, they make it light, they make it fun, but they love the interaction of family, like family game night to a Gemini in the 4th house. Like that's probably like the most perfect life for them. Like their ideal night is with the family, doing game night, being entertaining, communicating with family members, siblings. Gemini's also has, you know, a huge presence of siblings. It's kind of part of their makeup in the third house. I know we're in the fourth house, but it still transfers over because you have that Gemini sun, that you really enjoy siblings, doing things with them, creating relationships with them. So it's not a bad placement to have. It's just, I've noticed that it, depending on what your chart looks like, you could either be a super big homebody or you have no home at all. And you're fine with it. You're happy. You're like, I don't need a home. What do I need a home for? I'm not going to stay there. I got things to do. So that's kind of Gemini in the fourth house. Gemini in the fifth house, another really fun one, creative, expressive with art. This is like the area of like fun and lust and new beginnings and all those things that Geminis love because it's new. They're learning something new. They really love this house. So, but they also are probably really cool artists. They maybe, this is an area where they paint or draw and express themselves in a very artistic kind of way. So these people work hard and they do best when their minds are stimulated by creating. And so when they're creating, they're doing magic things. So kind of a fun house. Gemini in the sixth house. The sixth house is ruled by Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury. So there is that connection there, this Mercury kind of energy, which Gemini is ruled by. So it does kind of feel like home. These people are, I would say, very professional. It's like when you think of like, so the sixth house represents serving others. And Gemini, where like you would see some signs in this house that would be like the caretakers. Gemini needs something more mentally stimulating. They're not the person that comes to the house and is like, here, let me get your water and make sure we take your pills. They're not that. That's not what they want to do. They want to be.
Uh-oh, we lost her.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, sorry. This person wants to be the person doing innovative things, making the pills that are going to cure, you know, cancer. Like it's still helping. It's putting some energy out there in the world that they're helping others, but they want to be more technical. They want the more challenging aspect of whatever that looks like. So these people want to do something to help others, but they need their brains to be challenged in the process, if that makes sense.
100%.
The seventh house, Gemini sun. I love this placement for people who live their single life because this is hard. This is a hard house for Geminis that want relationships and want to be in a consistent relationship, because the seventh house is about relationships and love. But Geminis are so free and so loving that they love everybody. And so this is kind of one of those houses that it's good. It's a really positive house for Gemini. They probably thrive. They honestly are probably someone that doesn't get into a relationship until later in life. They stay very single. They date a lot. They have a lot of friends that they probably consider just friends, but that other person may think they're more than friends. But Gemini's like, no. And I feel like they're pretty honest people. So I don't think there's a lot of like, where some signs it's like, yeah, we're together, but then they're doing all this shady stuff behind their back. Gemini, I don't really see as like that. They're kind of like, no, I just want to be friends. They lose interest really easy. Mm-hmm. And this house is the hardest to stay interested in people because it's all about partnerships, and you meet the next person and you're like, oh, this person is interesting. I like this person, and that person is old news. It's very hard. It's a lot of air. Seventh house is ruled by Libra. It's very airy. Gemini is airy. So when Gemini is in an air house, consistency is a little harder, and relationships, it's harder to just pick one and you're on to the next one because the next one seems cooler and you don't know anything about this person. So you want to learn about them. And
new and exciting things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On to the next one. So eighth house, this gives Gemini a little more depth. Makes them a little more serious, more mysterious. So this is a placement where You know, the people that have to go to like the house to tell the family that a loved one's like passed away. I feel like this is a good career choice for someone with their Gemini sun in the 8th house because they can communicate things. They can speak in a way that, like I said, that can kind of alter the situation. And not that losing someone, you can never alter that or make that easier, but they also aren't emotional beings, Gemini. So it's kind of like they can say it, take the emotion out, and deliver information that can be really hard. And that's just an example. I mean, there's a lot of information out there that you got to deliver that's hard. So Gemini would be the man for the job. So 9th house Geminis. So the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius, which is the complete opposite of Gemini. But Gemini in this house gives them this extraordinary way of teaching. Like they probably, if you have a sun in the Gemini sun in the 9th house, philosophy, understanding principles, quantum physics, things that you can just like dig down and keep digging and there's really no answer to, but you are like, I'm going to find the answer. This is a really good indication of someone who a perpetual student. They don't stop learning. They are always in school throughout their whole life. They just continue different schools, different avenues. They're curious. Geminis are naturally curious, and then they're in the house of like learning and travel. And so a lot of times they do learn by traveling. Sorry. She's got things to say.
Gemini.
Yeah. Hi. So yeah, just a really fun placement for you. If you have a Gemini sun in the 10th house, probably travel a lot. You learn by traveling. Kinesthetically, it's kind of like how you learn. You're a very kinesthetic learner. You dive in with your hands and you get to, you know, the end of, well, not the end, but you get to the solution or whatever you're trying to learn by traveling a lot of times in this placement. Gemini in the 10th house. These people are the people that want to be, so the 10th house represents career and public role. So these people want to be known. They want to be seen. They have things to say. Their public image is very important. I wouldn't say important. They care about it, but they also don't care if they, if it's a negative thing, if they attract negative attention. They don't care. They just want some sort of attention. They need to talk in their career, and they need to be like the person making the rules. I'm just going to throw a fun fact in there. Donald Trump is a Gemini in the 10th house.
How surprising.
He loves to have the attention. He loves, I mean, he ran a business. He wanted to be on TV. You know, he wasn't not necessarily a loved man. And when he was on, well, I don't even know what the show was, but I know that he had a show that he was kind of an asshole. And then, you know, he was president. We all know how that went. So it's kind of like, that is a very good example of a Gemini sun in the 10th house. They want power. They want control. They want to rule things. They want to be in front and center. And they want credibility if it turns out really great. And they don't really care if it goes to shit. They still want the credibility for it. So that's Gemini 10th house. Gemini in the 11th house. This one's really fun. I have a daughter. She's a Gemini. And when I say this, I mean this. She could give two fucks about anything but her friends. Family's cool, whatever, but her friends are it. She loves her friends. She loves to talk to her friends. She wants to communicate with her friends. She loves to play video games with her friends. She wants to do all things with her friends. And if it's a video game, Xbox, Gorilla Tag, those are her things. Those are her jams. That's where she is her happiest. And I think she will be like this for the rest of her life. So if you are a Gemini sun in the 11th house, your friends, community, you work so well in a group, you want to be surrounded by people. You want to be surrounded by like good people, talkative people, fun people, and not like boring, lousy people. I try to like be upbeat for her because I know that if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I just had a baby, yada yada, she's gonna be like, oh god, and she's so just uninterested. But if I'm like, hey, what's up? Like I come in on her birthday and I'm like singing and this weird bird voice, and she's like, yes, I'm here for this. And then we connect, you know, we vibe because I'm being crazy and weird and fun, and she loves that. So Gemini in the 11th house, also the house of Aquarius. you really thrive here. You're vibing, you're chilling. This is a good placement. It flows really nicely. It's a trine, so you have that degree that kind of like makes it connect in a way that's like very positive, very flowy. Good placement. Now to Gemini in the 12th house, which is the complete opposite. If I had a Gemini daughter in the 12th house, I would not come in singing and screaming and I'd be like, hello, good morning. How are we feeling today? I'm just here to check in. They're more deeper. They're kind of like I was saying with Scorpio, how they gives them like a little bit of depth. Pisces does the same, or the 12th house, which represents Pisces. So the Gemini in the 12th house kind of gives it that Pisces energy. They're more calm. They want to be, they like organized. There's this wisdom to them too. They just kind of, I believe that if your sun is in the 12th house, you've reincarnated from a past life of someone very wise, like a healer or something. It kind of, those are always kind of indications of that. So, where I said in the 11th house, you enjoy friends and having a group of people. If your Gemini sun is in the 12th house, you prefer to work alone and you really vibe by yourself and you enjoy your alone time, which is probably one of the only houses that, maybe the 8th house as well, maybe even the 4th, but they're houses that Geminis most of the time cannot be alone with their thoughts. There are so many running wild, going crazy, that to sit alone is really difficult for a Gemini sun. And so when you have your sun in the 12th house, this levels out a little bit and you actually can, sit with your thoughts and process your thoughts, because Pisces energy, 12th house energy, it really it can just be one of those good houses for thinking, feeling, and it kind of flows. I mean, it might be a little difficult, but I would say it more or less flows than not. So yeah, that's Gemini in a nutshell in all the houses through your planets. So if you have any questions, send them in the chat. And if not, then I'm going to give it to Julie for our other fun activities.
I think we can go back to the body parts. We have a little video from our body worker Kat. And again, we're body parts ruled by Gemini: hands, arms, shoulders, and lungs. Geminis are susceptible to strains and accidents involving arms and hands, and also prone to bronchitis and respiratory ailments. So we have a little video.
So Gemini correlates with the body parts of the hands, arms, shoulders, and lungs. I like to think about it as the duality between being open and being a little bit more closed off. So let's bring ourselves back into balance with some posture exercises and some wrist exercises. These are great, especially if you work at a desk where you're typing all day. You want to make sure that you're really taking care of your wrists to avoid carpal tunnel and things like that from overuse. Just a little back and forth stretch. You don't want to be pushing too hard to extend the fingers, but you do want to feel a little bit of a stretch. And a roll. Okay, let's move into our shoulders. Come up to the ears, push those shoulder blades together, down. Breathe in and out. In and out. And out. If you are used to being more forward, like a lot of us are in this world, we tend to drive, type, be on our phone, where everything is an internal rotation. It is really, really beneficial to make sure that you're stretching out these muscles to get full lung capacity. Something that I want to share that I think is super interesting, when I was in one of my first anatomy classes, we were talking about the Vermilion Man, which is the drawing by Leonardo da Vinci that was used by early anatomists. And someone made the comment about why he stands with his palms forward. And our instructor was talking to us about how that is how our bodies should look if we are having correct posture. But oftentimes when we're standing, our arms are facing, our hands are backwards because we are not engaging in good posture. Our shoulders are rolled forward, which makes our arms roll forward instead of them being back and our palms facing forward. Your shoulders should be down and back to really allow for lung expansion. Just take a couple moments every day to think about your posture, to think about your arms, and how you are taking care of your wrists especially. And we will see you next week.
Mommy gave you the stuff.
Coming back into the Geminis. So life lessons for Geminis are to still the mind, to connect heart, feeling, and word, and knowing when not to talk. The esoteric messages is messenger of the gods, good listener, connects and networks the tribe. Those are all good ones. And then we've got our high road versus the low road. So we've all met the Gemini low road person. You might not know when you've met the high road Gemini because you just have to find out. But the high road
they're harder to like pin out when they're evolved. You're like, oh, you're a Gemini?
Yeah, definitely.
Something different.
It is. A high road Gemini is verbal, flexible, intellectual, speedy, and efficient. And our low road Gemini is scattered, forgetful, anxious, and an overthinker. Those, we've all met that person for sure.
Yes, I've met more. I feel like with times as like it progresses through their life and they go through like their Saturn return and just different things, they evolve differently. But I feel like once you've met an older Gemini, they have so much wisdom and they're so like enlightening that you're just like, wow. But I always think like, man, what did it take for you to get here? What did you have to go through to get to this point where you are, sharing such wisdom and, just patience? And there's so many of my older friends that are Geminis that are just like little hippies and, zen, very zen. So I, congratulate those of you who have made it there, especially at a young age. If you're a Gemini and you're like 20 and you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally chilling. You've done, that's amazing. So
yeah, indeed. We're going to open this up for any questions. If anybody has any, want to talk about Gemini in your chart, or if you have a question on how to find out where the Gemini is at in your chart. Again, we're looking at astro.com to pull your birth charts, or Cafe Astrology as well. Also, if you're watching, make sure that if you're watching via Facebook or YouTube, that you like, subscribe, share. And if you're on social media, we're doing Academy of Logic and Light on Instagram and Facebook as well. And don't forget that we have our Patreon. We've got some new exciting classes and workshops coming up. We have been brainstorming like crazy, so we're super excited for announcing those things coming up soon.
All the fun things.
All the fun things.
You have Gemini in your chart?
I don't have any Gemini in my chart. I actually was about to go look and see if there was any in the houses, but I don't think I have. My partner has it as his rising, which makes it fun.
That is fun. Well, yeah, that's a fun personality.
It is. It is for sure.
And you like to travel.
Yeah, I'm a traveler. He's a traveler. And then Julie means the youthful one. And then his Gemini rising keeps him very youthful too. So we're doing dumb stuff all the time.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't have any Gemini anywhere.
Jupiter is in Gemini in the second house. I mean, that's a good placement. So Jupiter is kind of like your luck and the second house of possessions. So I would say this person, in order to have things, possessions, which may be something that's really important to a Gemini in Jupiter, Working in a field that gives you a line of like communication, how you communicate, that's how you're going to really draw in your luck, because Jupiter is sorry, I lost it. Sagittarius is ruler. So if you think about it, when your Gemini is in the opposite, it kind of like you have to really use your skills, because it's kind of like it works against you. Use your skills, use your communicative skills to generate income. And I know I have a very similar Jupiter. I've had to switch careers in order to really shine. Like I've done a career that financially supported me and my family, but sometimes you have to transfer and do something that you more enjoy and that fulfills you, because we have those lighter Jupiters where, just because something makes money doesn't make it valuable. And for you, it's kind of like you need to have things will come to you. Luckily, that'll be a good thing that you have in your chart when it's in the second house, but you need to create these things and generate income, or these things through speaking, exploring, learning, teaching. Those are going to be big areas for you to generate more things, possessions, because the second house people, you guys love your possessions, love your things. Is it possible for all your houses to be in Gemini? Your houses are, so Gemini, it can't be in all of them. So it can only be in one house at a time. Well, it can be in two if it like transfers over. So it can be in two different houses, but that would mean your whole chart was Gemini, and it's just not possible because there are all the planets that are in the sky at the time, all the time. Not at the time you were born, but all the time. So when you're born, you'll have Gemini in, you can have a stellium of Gemini. You can have like a Gemini sun, Mercury, like it can all be, if that's what you're saying, like all your planets in that house, that's possible to have a majority of them. And then that's a stellium, and that is a whole dynamic energy of Gemini. Like it would be really interesting to see your chart if you have a stellium of Gemini, because communication, depending on what house it's in, Gemini is just so fun. Like you might have problems staying stable or consistent, but I bet you have a really good time and really enjoy and have a lot of fun in life, which is what we're here for. Can't take things to the grave with you.
That's true.
Don't listen to me for financial advice. Don't come to me for that.
If y'all have any more questions about your charts, or you want to get a one-on-one reading, Elle's Instagram is on here. I think it was at the beginning, but we can post it on here as well. Yeah. And you can reach her via Instagram. Do you have an email address?
Oh, I do. We can put it in the notes because I'm going to say it, and writing it down will be a lot if you're not ready for it. But yeah, I can put that in. You can email me. I would honestly say messaging me, Facebook or Instagram, were two of the best places. And then I can just kind of get your birth information, do a birth reading for you. And yeah.
Cool. I think that might be everything that we have for Geminis today, which honestly, we're kind of surprised we got it all covered under 50 minutes.
I was like, I'm going to have to talk fast. So I got up at 5:30 and I started drinking coffee then. So I was like, I will be able to get through this as quickly and efficiently as possible, because there's a lot. Gemini is a lot. Thank you. Thank you. It's always fun.
All right. Well, we'll end this. And then if you guys need any more information, you can check us out on our Academy of Logic and Light on Instagram and Facebook. And we'll see y'all next week for Cancer.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye.